Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. If you are on Twitch, really appreciate it. What I want to be able to talk about is what we just went over during that whole live session. It was, what is the difference between should I be using a 3-ball method? Should I be using a 1-ball method when doing acrylic? And I want to be able to break it down for you so that you have a really good understanding. It really depends on your skills. And like Tracy was saying, if you need more than one, that is absolutely fine, especially when you're learning. But you have to know where and when to apply, or basically when and how, right? So let me go ahead and break it down, and we're going to get into some detail. I'm going to show you exactly what you should do and how you can practice achieving perfection when working with different size beads, as well as multiple pearls when actually building nails. This will make a lot of sense when I'm done. All right, so what I've done is I've went ahead and basically just put a couple tips on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate prep. Okay, so we're going to go through the whole entire process of pushing back cuticles, boom, right? And after we're done doing that, I want to be able to take my electric file at a very low speed, 3,000 RPMs, and I want to be able to tickle away the shine right from the surface. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to gently remove everything. I'm going to feather this away from corner to corner. I'm not using an aggressive prep. I'm using a very gentle. For those of you guys that are wondering the type of pressure I'm using as though I was tickling the inside of my wrist, right, to feather away the shine. That's what you want to be able to do. You're not going... yesterday in my shaving class, someone said they had a lot of pressure here because they're putting this basically this Darth Vader death grip, and you're going to add a lot of pressure. If you come over the top, you're going to be able to alleviate a lot of that pressure, very gentle hold so that you could work around the cuticle area, and that gives you time. You can see how I'm lightly feathering. I'm not digging, I'm just lightly feathering. I'm letting the electric file do all the work for me as I come around and remove all the shine around the perimeter of the nail. Okay, so after I'm done doing that, what we want to be able to do is use swipe. I'm going to come through, I'm going to clean this. If you decide that you wanted to use a lint-free wipe, you could do the same thing to clean the surface. And this is going to set you up for protein bond, which is 2 coats. So I'm going to come through, boom. You can see how I'm balancing my fingers even when I'm applying protein bond. That way I don't shake. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to get one more coat. I'm going to go through. So I do all 10 and come back and do another, basically all 10. All right, so once we're done doing this, I'm going to go back and so I'm going to make sure the cap is on tight so I don't spill it. I have my liquid. I'm going to be using Cover Pink to work with, and we're going to get into a nice application. I'm just going to work with our traditional forms, all right? So here's the thing. When you're learning, if you have been going to a salon and you see somebody doing 1-ball method, this is what they're probably doing. They're probably gluing on a tip, and then they're doing 1 ball from the cuticle all the way down. Well, it's going to be a lot harder if you're sculpting because you're not going to be able to build that. What you're going to do is you're going to get a form on, right? And you have to be able to pick up a large enough bead. Okay, so I want to be able to show you this. You have to pick up a large enough bead where you're going to be setting it here, and it's going to run all the way down, right, to the desired length, right? So if you do have the skills, right, if you do have the skills to submerge your brush, get a large enough bead, right, to pick up, and then set this to the cuticle area, and then use the tip of your brush to walk around the perimeter while kind of guiding the product down around the perimeter of the nail right? As the product comes down, you're going to be able to use the body of your brush at this point when it gets past to kind of start feathering it through, okay? So again, I'm working on a form, so I know at this point that I'm going to be able to stretch this out like clay because I've got it nice and tight around the perimeter of the nail. I don't have to worry about that. Now I can do this because I totally understand the consistency that I'm working with. I totally understand what I have to do in order to get great form through the whole entire body so that I'm able to sculpt a relatively active length nail with great shape and perfection, right? I mean, I pretty much have it nice and tight all the way through. My cuticle areas are going to be well built. Like I might need a little bit of product here on the side. So like, again, do I have it far enough down? What I would have to do is I would kind of have to stretch the acrylic. It's not set yet, but this is where you're going to have to kind of go through and determine, hey, do I need a little bit more here at the front? Yes. So is it truly one bead? No, because I'm going to need a little bit of support right there. Okay. Now, if again, you are not comfortable doing this in one, how do you do it in multiple? Well, you'd have to break it down into multiple beads, right? So as you can see, this is set. I'm just going to let that dry and then we can go ahead and file this into shape. Okay. When I was taught in school, I was taught that you have to either glue the tip on, okay? And honestly, that's all I was really taught. I wasn't taught really how to sculpture nails because my instructor didn't know how to do it. So, I was taught that gluing a tip and then starting from the tip and moving all the way to the back end is the way to go. It's not. Let me explain. So I don't have a tip. We're going to start with the form. So you're going to need a consistency, right? So to build the tip, and the consistency you need, it cannot self-level too much because you don't want it to run. You have to remember, if you're working on a form, you don't have any body heat. If you pick up the same type of pearl that I'm going to be working on the natural nail and I set this on the form, this is what ends up happening. The product will run down both sides. The consistency that you need when you're working on a form is you do need a lot of liquid to pick it up, but what you need to do is you need to be able to kind of drain the excess out, right? That way, when you go ahead and set it to the form, you have a clay-like consistency. You don't want this when you're working around the cuticle area because then you're going to have to force press around the perimeter of the nail, which is probably going to end up drying before you could successfully get it around the perimeter of the nail with perfection. When you are building a free edge, again, depending on the length, for all you guys that are starting, get yourself a nice bead. 1, 2, 3, kind of drain it out, set it. Don't go for extended length. You could square off the front, start from the middle, use the body of the brush, walk it down to this growth channel, bring it up even. You see the bulge right here? Watch. Walk it up from the top of that bulge into the corner. Back over the top. Get it back even with this side right here. Walk it from the top, from the top, from the top. My pressure is on the top end of the bead. Then what I'll do is I'll walk back over the top, get it even. Walk back over the top, get it even. I totally recommend for all of you guys that are starting, try to build as square of a nail as you possibly can. It's a lot harder to do because what you're trying to build is something that is going to match this growth channel here and this growth channel here, okay? When you're doing something that is pointed, you just have to bring it to the center. It's a lot easier to do. Trying to get an even structure from side to side takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of balance, and you can see how I am balancing my hand when I am working, okay? Now, when you are building body, do not start, again, there are companies out there, they're going to say, start from here, 1 bead, and then use 3 beads behind, 1 bead here, 1 bead here, 1 bead here. There's way too high of a percentage of you getting inconsistencies around the cuticle area, not just the cuticle area. I'm talking about, like, you have to remember, right? If I'm working around the cuticle area, right? If I'm working around that area right there, if I set 1 bead here, and then another bead here, and then another bead here, the chances of me getting consistency is a lot harder than just doing one larger one and then using the brush to get it tight around the perimeter of the nail. I don't want to physically press it. I want to be able, I don't want to force press it. I want to touch it so that it runs into place. All right, so what we want to be able to do is I want to get a bead that is going to run into perfection. Don't worry again about doing this in, you're not trying to do one ball method all the way to here. I want you to figure out how to do one ball where you're going to be able to get tight from here and here, creating an arch and then feathering down into the body. Watch. Submerge my brush. I'm going to get in really tight. Okay? This is going to be awesome. I'm going to get a really nice bead. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go ahead and set that down. Watch this. Press, 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 press. I literally touch it one time. And then what I can do is I can really start feathering from the sides and the front. You see, I'm using the tip of my brush just to kind of feather down. Look at that. I'm gonna just barely touching, using the tip of my brush. I'm not pulling from back. I'm really kind of pulling from where it starts to kind of blend, trying to create, right? As I start to press down and start to feather through, you see how it creates that natural shape, right? But everything goes tight here. That little bit of a space right there, don't try to fill it. Trust me, leave it. It will blend absolutely flush with your hand file. And that's what you want to be able to do. So you want to be able to, again, come through, try to get this all the way through the body. Now what you're going to need is a little piece of glitter right there. You're going to need a blending bead that's going to go from like right here all the way down to that point right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, again, almost the same size. And then again, just kind of wait. I'm going to set it right in between. I'm going to set it right in between the bead I just built and the tip. I'm going to lightly pull back. I'm going to pull back. And then I'm going to use the body of my brush. You can see as I walk it from side to side, it blends in, dude, tight. And then what we can do is I could use the body of the brush. It's almost the very, very base of the brush to walk down, boom, and just get it even from side to side, right? Don't worry, again, if it adds, a little bit of thickness to the tip. I want you to be able to practice, again, just getting it down. When everything files out, it's going to be nice and even. From the very, very front, it might look like you're double stacking it, but when you file this perfect, it's going to look absolutely sick. right? You can see as I'm brushing down and through, making sure that everything is nice and even. So again, this is 3, right? 3 big beads that I used, right, to build the free edge, build the cuticle area, the apex, and I have a blending bead that works from the front and all the way through to the back, okay? That's what I want you to be able to do. Don't try, if you're gonna do it in one, you have to remember that you have to have, first of all, the skills to be able to pick a large enough one. You have to master the consistency. You have to be able to set it down at the perimeter, lightly touch so everything flows down. If you're doing tips and you can get it in one where you're able to pull, notice that I didn't pull from the back and get it flat. I pulled from the front of the bead so that it kept that arch nice and tight. But most of the time you're gonna need 2. I mean, there's very rare chances, if I'm even doing a speed sculpt, that I'm just getting it down in one. A lot of times it comes out too flat. I'm always going to need an additional bead. But I do want you to practice. I do want you to focus on trying to focus on one pearl to master the cuticle area. You're going to have less problems with lifting. You're going to have more consistency. You're going to have a way basically tighter perimeter, which is going to lead to less time filing into perfection, right? If you're spending less time filing, there's less chance of disruption around the perimeter of the nail, which again, like if you're spending a ton of time hand filing, dude, you could disrupt the bond of the natural nail. All right, I hope this helps. I just wanted to get on here and make sure that we covered that topic. If you guys have any questions, hit me up. I'm always here to help. I appreciate you. Love you guys much. See you soon. Peace.